What is up, everybody? It is Battle Brew time with your boy Blue.
You're my boy,
All right, deck 2 of 3 from the same customer. Again, another Pioneer deck. Not normally what I do. I usually do kitchen table decks, as I've told you many times. But this one fits in the Pioneer. And today's request that was given from the customer was Grixis, or black, blue, red zombies in Pioneer. Now, the challenge in that is getting enough color separation and then being able to produce enough colors to make it work in Pioneer on a budget of 30 to 40. And I hit $30 like I did with the other deck, and the deck after this will be 30, just because I try to keep them as cheap as possible to make them as usable as possible. So let's talk about this deck and go over it, and then we'll go from there. So again, Grixis Zombies. All right, let's start it off here. All right, so the theme I went with, I've actually used in a deck I similarly have called The Walking Dead. It's blue and black. It also deals in the army or Amass ability, or the whatever it's called. I usually do it in an Amass deck, which is basically creating an army token that is a 0/0 zombie army that comes into play with +1/+1 counters depending on how much you amass. So let's talk about this. We're going to start with a Lazartep Reaver, which is a 2 to cast 1/2. It's a zombie itself, and when it enters the battlefield, you amass 1. So what that means is, if I don't already have an army in play, I put a 0/0 army into play, and then the amass 1 puts a 1/+1/+1 counter on it. So all the creatures are going to look like this for the most part, or they're going to help buff something like this. So we'll start off with that, and I got a play set of those in there. It fits the curve. I got Vizier of Scorpion in here. It's a 3 to cast 1/1 that is a zombie as well. When it enters the battlefield, again, you amass 1, which is you put a 0/0 army into play if there isn't one already, and then you put a +1/+1 counter on it, or if there is one in play, you just put a +1/+1 counter on it. I only have 2 of those in there because the ability on here, I have separated out sets of 2 for each different one that gives an ability to zombie tokens. So this one gives zombie tokens Death Touch. All zombie tokens, not just army ones. And you're going to see how that works in a little bit. The first rare of the 6 is Headless Rider. It's a 3 to cast 3/1, and whenever it or another non-token zombie you control dies, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So when your Amass guys die, they turn into 2 zombie tokens, which, if you have the ones that are giving abilities, like by Vizier of the Scorpion, it will also gain Death Touch. All right? Diagraph Colossus, 3 to cast for a 2/2. It enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each zombie card in your graveyard. And then, whenever you cast a zombie spell, you also create a tapped 2/2 zombie creature token. So, follow along here for a second. All the creatures amass that you're casting, they put a token into play. And if they already is an army in the play, you also get, with him in play, another tapped 2/2 zombie token, which gets buffed by other things. Alright? Got Eternal Bantu, 5 to cast for a 5/6. It has Menace, which means it can only be blocked by 2 or more creatures. When it enters the battlefield, I can sacrifice any number of other permanents. So that could be the tokens, that could be lands, that could be any other creatures. It doesn't really matter. And then you draw that many cards. So if I sacrifice 2 tokens, I get to draw 2 cards. Always a benefit. And then he has the third ability, which is whenever he dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, I may put him into my library, or the owner's library as it's stated. Third from the top, so he can come out again. So no tokens here. However, the synergy here is that you can use the tokens as sacrificial lambs to draw cards, which is a nice strong point in a deck that, while it has blue, its focus isn't really on card draw, so it helps, within the theme of zombies, help you draw cards. And it's also a 5/6 on top of that. Alright, Even Eternal. So it's a 3 to cast 2/2 flyer, good stats off the bat. And then when he enters the battlefield, you also amass 1, so you can even get a token out of it. Got a play set of those. Eternal Skylord, I've got 2 of these in here. It's expensive, it's 5 to cast, but it's probably the most expensive creature in here. Not rare anyway. It's a 3/3. When he enters the battlefield, you amass 2. So amassing 2 means that if you don't have an army in play already for some reason, maybe you sacrificed 1 to God Eternal Bantu, you put a 0/0 into play and then put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Or if you already have one in play, it gets 2 +1/+1 counters. The other ability, this is one of the ones that buffs your zombie tokens, and this one gives them flying. So 2 of those. Gleaming Overseer, so it's my 3-drop in here. So it's a black, a blue, and 1. It's a 1/4. And then it amasses 1 when it enters, and it gives all zombie tokens hexproof and menace. So hexproof is really good, especially against anything that's heavy removal. I got 2 of those in there. My red, which is also my 1-drop, is a Grim Initiate. So it's a 1 to cast 1/1 first striker. Good stats for just a 1/1. Being first strike is always good, especially in the beginning of the game. And then when he dies, you amass 1 instead of when he comes into play. Play a set of those. Dread Horde Twins. So it's a 4 to cast 2/2. When he enters the battlefield, amass 2, just like the this guy here. Not him. Not him. Where is dude? That guy, he amasses 2. So do the Dread Horde Twins. It's a 2/2. And then he has it so zombie tokens you control have trample. Okay? 2 of those. The rest is going to be basically removal and stuff to help you with the rest of the way it plays. I'm going to say most of Magic. I don't know if there's any format that this card isn't the best removal spell in the game. It's 1 to cast at instant speed. And early game, this is the greatest thing. You can destroy a target creature if it has converted mana cost of 2 or less. And then it has Revolt. And Revolt on it means that you can destroy a creature if it has converted mana cost 4 or less if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn. Okay? This card is probably the king of removal at this point. I don't think they've had much that rivals it. I mean, there's a lot of adjacent ones, but I don't think there's anything really better than it. I got 2 of those in there, and boy, are these expensive. I got Doomblades in here, so it's a 2 to cast instant that destroys non-black creatures. Obviously, Fatal Pushes are for black creatures. Got a play set of those, and then I replaced card draw with card search, and the reason for that is a couple reasons, actually. So, yes, it's 4 to cast. It's not a Demonic Tutor. It's not even legal in Pioneer. And there are probably some cheaper, maybe. But as far as a deck like this goes, you need to find exactly what you need at the moment you need it. And if you have a Diabolic Tutor in hand, you can do that. You can go search for a land. You can go search for a removal. You can go search for a creature. And with the fact that all these creatures all have the ability to give other abilities, like, for instance, you can go get something that gives Death Touch to other creatures in case you're fighting a dinosaur deck that the creatures are too big. You can go get whatever you want. Instead of doing card draw, I went with card search, okay? This one's an interesting one. So I was searching and searching and searching for what I could put in here that would be a game ender. And this pretty much was the game ender. So it's expensive. It's 3 blue and double X. If you don't know how double X works, send me a message. I can explain it to you. But it's pretty simple. For each X, you pay twice. So if you pay 3 blue and 2, you get 1 X. If you play 3 blue and 4, you get 2 X. You cannot do 5 on the X. It cannot be an uneven number. All right? The ability is to exile X target creature cards from your own graveyard. And for each of those cards that were exiled this way, you create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's now a 4/4 black zombie. So, how does that end the game? Well, remember, everything in here has something to do with creating another token, making tokens bigger, giving them all abilities. So, what better way to take advantage of that than to make everything in here also a token, but a bigger one, okay? Nothing in here is really a 4/4 except God Eternal Bantu, and he's a 5/6, okay? Everything else is smaller. The point of that is you bring all your stuff back, you're creating tokens, you're making things bigger by amassing, you make one army token bigger, it gets all these abilities, but then you're also getting these as tokens. So now they're tokens with those abilities as well. But they're 4/4s. So like Aven Eternal would be a 4/4 flyer that amasses 1, and say that you also had in there an Eternal Skylord. Now it also has flying. So, because it's a token. Alright, so that's why this is the game finisher. Dreadhorde Invasion is in here because it's a continual way to amass every turn, okay? But the added ability on the bottom makes it even more. So whenever a zombie token you control with power 6 or greater, and it doesn't have to be an army token, attacks, it also gains lifelink, giving you life as well. So, all good synergy there. I also added a Liliana Death's Majesty. So it's a 5 to cast Planeswalker. Comes into play with 5 loyalty. Its uptick is to create a 2/2 black zombie creature token and mill 2 cards. Now, again, more zombie tokens. Don't worry about milling cards. That actually ends up playing into the hand of your Hour of Eternity later. Its first down tick is to return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and that creature is also a black zombie in addition to its other types, which won't really matter. The only thing that does is it changes some of the other guys to black zombies. All right. Its ultimate, however, devastating, especially against other decks who are creature heavy, and they're not zombies. And it destroys all non-zombies, giving you a one-sided board wipe. And then Angrath, Captain of Chaos. So it's hybrid black-red. So what that means is it's either 2 black and 2, 2 red and 2, or a black and a red and 2. That's what that means. So you play either or for each pip. All right? Comes into play with 5 loyalty counters. Gives all your creatures menace. Doesn't matter if they're tokens or not. And then it only has a down tick. It does not have an ultimate. It does not have an uptick. And it's to amass 2. So it'll create tokens or give +1/+1 counters to armies that you already have in play. Or an army, because I haven't really figured out how you can have more than one army in play yet. I'm sure there's a way. I haven't seen it yet. So I got 2 of them in there. Now, the land situation was a little convoluted, so I'm going to go over this one. Putting a lot of stuff into the deck that tapped when it entered battlefield did not really play well to this deck's theory. It needed to have constant 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop curves, okay? My solution to that was not expensive, and it actually works, all right? That's where Crypt of the Eternals comes in. Comes into play, gives you a life, just like some of the stuff I would have probably put in here that came into play tapped. Helps keep you alive longer so you can get your engine going and take advantage of all that. All right? So, you get the life. It comes into play untapped. And right off the bat, it can tap to add at least a colorless. All right? That's the first part. The second part is you can pay 1 and tap it to add either the 3 colors, one of the 3 colors that you need. Blue, black, or red. All right? That was my solution to fixing the color problem on a 3-color deck on a budget. It's the only one of its kind that I'm aware of that does that untapped. I think all of the tricolor lands come into play tapped. This one didn't, so that's how I figured out that. The lands after that are going to be 10 swamps, specifically because this is very black heavy. It's 6 islands because it's a little less heavy on blue but heavier than red, so I got 6 islands in there. And then 4 mountains because I believe in total, the way that I figured out how to do the lands, and this may be a nice tip for you all. So, there were 8 actual total red cards in the deck, and I have 4 mountains and 4 Crypt of the Eternals for 8 total sources of red. I believe that the number is very similar to the blue, so that's why I chose the amount of islands that I have. Because now I have 6 islands and 4 Crypt of the Eternals for 10 blue sources, and I believe I upped it just a little bit. I think there are 9 blue sources total in this deck, but I upped it a little bit because one of them has 3 blue in their mana costs. So you have more options to get blue onto the board, all right? And of course, the rest of it, swamps, because most of the deck is swamps, is all black heavy. So that's 14 sources, because there's 24 total lands in here, 14 total sources that can be black. And that doesn't correlate to there's only 14 sources of black, or 14 things that you cast in here that are black. However, you can only put so many lands in here. You can't do a half and half. So, and that's how I figured it out. So let me go over it again real quick. 8 sources of red because I have 8 red cards. 10 sources of blue because I have 9 blue cards in here, but one of them was triple blue. And then the rest to fill out the 24 cards, because you want to have a land drop every turn, was black. So there's 14 total black sources. And that's only because I didn't feel like doing 26 because it would have diluted the deck a little bit too much. So that's how I have that figured out on a 3-color land, or a 3-color deck in a 60-card format. So people do it differently. That's how I figure it out. All right. So that's the deck in a nutshell. It is zombie token tribal for the most part. It's actually kind of fun. I actually play a deck like this myself in Commander. So anyway, that's the deck I have for you this week. Hopefully the person who has bought this deck is having fun with it, because it's been about a week since they've gotten it. A little bit less maybe. So hopefully they'll give me some feedback on it. So that's my time for the week. I want to ask you to do me the favor. Please like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet already. And share this out to somebody who's looking to build a zombie token or a zombie tribal, a different zombie tribal deck in 3-color in Pioneer. I don't know how many people are going to want to, but you never know. There are a lot of people out there that do a lot of things differently. So hopefully that gave you some insight on how to do it and gave you some ideas. Have a good one. I will see you all next week for the 3rd and final one for the one customer. And then after that, we're going to go into other decks that were requested. See you all next week.